Tremendous turnout in Portland, upset alert in Orlando, and the latest from Charleston, South Carolina next on The Daily. Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of The Daily from Charleston, South Carolina, here with Andrew Wiebe. I'm Nick Fershaw. Andrew, we're looking at some of the biggest preseason headlines of the day, and let's start up in Portland. The Portland Timbers tournament got underway. Chivas USA with a loss to Scandinavian side AIK in the opener. But the big headlines, the nightcap. If there was ever any doubt that the Portland Timbers fans are excited about the 2012 season, they're put to rest now.
Yeah, they're ready for this one. 16,000 plus fans showing up to see the home team take on the San Jose Earthquakes. Now, they didn't get the result they wanted, a 1-1 draw. Khalif Halassan scoring for the home side and an own goal doing the damage for the Earthquakes. But if there was any indication that Cascadia is just going to continue to rise as MLS continues to go on there, this was it. Big game for them.
16,000 fans for a game in February up there in Portland, Oregon. That tournament resumes on Thursday. Moving on down to Orlando, Florida, where the Disney Pro Soccer Classic resumes today. 2 games, 2 MLS teams in action, starting with Toronto FC against BK Häcken, the Swedish side, and then in the nightcap, FC Dallas against Orlando City. The early game 6 p.m., the night game 8 p.m. Eastern. You can find both of those live streamed on MLSsoccer.com. What's your biggest storyline heading into tonight's game?
Well, I think the biggest storyline doesn't even fall within MLS. Orlando City this preseason has shown an ability to match up with the big boys, drawing 1-1 with the Philadelphia Union earlier this preseason on a last-second goal. Exciting game there. Then they take down, well, not take down, but get a nice 2-2 draw against Toronto FC in the opener. So FC Dallas, we'll see if that can be their third victim, so to speak, the third MLS team that they can pull a result off on this preseason.
Orlando City certainly played well in this tournament last year. They definitely get up for this tournament. You mentioned FC Dallas. Want to say a quick happy birthday to Breck Shea, 22 years old. He's off with the U.S. national team. That big matchup against Italy tomorrow. Another bit of news, this one comes for the Montreal Impact. We found out the other day that Andrew Wenger, the #1 overall pick in the MLS Super Draft, might actually play a different position for the Montreal Impact than we expected this year. What do you make of it?
Not a big surprise there, actually. When he came out of college, a lot of people were saying that he'd move back to that defensive spot, maybe defensive midfielder. But a lot of the time in the preseason, he's played up top, and Jesse Marsh has said that he likes him up there. He scored 17 goals last year in college, had an assist against Sporting Kansas City the other night, looked pretty dangerous on the wings. So in Montreal, where there's a little bit more depth, maybe in that back line as opposed to the forwards, that's probably where he'll end up as they look to score goals here in their expansion season. Certainly
the most versatile player, I think, taken in that Super Draft. A lot of people wondering if he's going to play a defensive midfielder. Looks like he could play up top for the Montreal Impact. And of course, the reason we're here in Charleston, South Carolina, the Carolina Challenge Cup resumes on Wednesday. 3 MLS teams in action in this one. The Columbus Crew, the Chicago Fire, and DC United. We're going to stroll over their practices today, catch up with them, find out some of the biggest preseason storylines for those teams. But you've been down at this tournament for a couple days. Let us know what you think about the vibe of this tournament. What do you expect? Well, first of all, the weather is much better today, so I'm sure the teams are very happy about that. But right now, teams still feeling it out. They had a nice little break from those games on Saturday, 2 KG games. Not a lot of chances going forward, not a lot of creative action, so to speak. So we'll look for that to get a little bit better on Wednesday. Columbus Crew and Chicago Fire matching up in the first game. The Fire may be the most impressive team as far as using their speed going forward and creating chances on Wednesday. And then the impressive Charleston Battery taking on DC United in the nightcap. We'll see if Hamdi Salihi can repeat his brilliance from Saturday night. It's always fun to see some of the D2 teams go up against the MLS squads in these preseason tournaments. That tournament resumes again on Wednesday. Last but not least, Extra Time Radio, a new edition, came out on Monday, a bi-coastal version, so to speak. One interview from Orlando and a couple from Arizona, Hans Baca from the New York Red Bulls and Nat Borchers from Real Salt Lake. But the headliner in this one is the one-on-one interview between Simon Borg and Aurelien Collen from Sporting Kansas City. You know Aurelien Collen pretty well. What do you make of him? Oh, I'm sure it'll be must-listen material there, especially with Simon on the mic. But Aurelien is a free spirit, so to speak, a guy in Kansas City that has developed a nice fan base and always a joy for the media. He says what's on his mind. Yes, partying with P. Diddy and some great fashion tips with Aurelien Collen. You can find that on iTunes and Buzzsprout. And last but not least, the MLS road trip to First Kick, presented by Adidas and Dick's Sporting Goods. Temris Lane and I are going to set up camp here in Charleston for a few days, but out on the West Coast, they're on the move. Drea and Dunny headed from Los Angeles up to San Jose. You can find all the latest details and the latest coverage from the road trip to First Kick, presented by Adidas and Dick's Sporting Goods on MLSsoccer.com.